Okay, one of our longtime viewers, Miles, who I've corresponded with on a lot of different things, wanted to know if I'd noticed any benefits from the table so far. And first and foremost, I'd have to say definitely. The first thing I really notice every time is how quickly I get deeply physically relaxed. And a lot of times you don't even really notice how physically relaxed you are until you get out of it. You know, until you're done with the session and you get up and you realize you're at this whole other level of like relaxation. And I'm confident with the right program material and with like the right mental stimulus. You know, I'm not even trying any of the standard hypnotic stuff where you feel your feet getting heavier and then your thighs getting heavier. You know, and you have this method of suggestion to help you relax, or there's lots of other methods out there. I'm confident that whatever method you are using, if you use that in conjunction with the table, at least the way I've got it set up, you can get way more relaxed than you've ever gotten before. And then the other aspect is a lot of times when I've been on the table for maybe half an hour or so, and this seems like when I'm playing, especially like the new agey music, like Enya's first album or some of her other albums, or Suzanne Ciani, I'll get this really euphoric feeling deep in my chest, and then it feels really good to breathe, to inhale. It's a feeling I haven't felt like probably since exercising regularly, when I got a decent amount of aerobic exercise, and you get this like euphoria. It's kind of hard to explain to somebody who hasn't like felt it before. And it's kind of similar to that, you know, and that's something that's different that I don't feel from just regular meditation, relaxation, or anything like that. So I can tell it's definitely coming from the table. Other things seem to be less tangible as far as physical healing is concerned, but I definitely feel like I'm noticing them. I mean, I've probably said this before, I had back problems all the time. You know, my back is just really sensitive to going out of place and damage, and I get my spine out of adjustment and it would affect my ribs, and they would get out of place, and some of them would like start poking into my lungs, and I'd have trouble breathing. I'd have to like spend an entire day in bed and stuff. Ever since I started using the table a couple of years ago, or whatever, like fall of '09, I think when I started built my first one. Ever since then, never had one problem with my back, and I have done a ton of moving since then, hauling heavy stuff, jobs that involved a lot of heavy lifting. Never injured my back since then. I mean, it's just been crazy. The only times I've probably come close is in that like year-long hiatus I had, just about a year, maybe 6 or 9 months, I guess, I had without the table, between when I had my old one and left it with my mom and when I built a second one. But yeah, and it seems like also I notice, you know, when I play guitar, if I haven't played in a while and I'm playing really fast riffs, I'll get like a tennis elbow thing going on. I get sharp pains in my elbow, and if I'm not careful, if I just keep playing when I get that, then it'll hurt for like, you know, months before it heals up. But I've learned a long time ago to stop, you know, but you know, let it warm up, you know, keep it wrapped or something, or keep a long sleeve shirt on. But I've noticed that I jumped back into guitar playing just a while back, a few days ago here, and hadn't been playing it a long time, just jumped in and started playing the fast riffs and stuff like that, and haven't had any problems whatsoever. And it really feels like it did maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe even like 20 when I first started playing. You know, around 15 to 20 years ago, I used to have that kind of resilience where I could just jump in and start playing out of the blue and it wouldn't even bother me. And of course it has to do with how often you're playing and stuff like that. But I don't know. I guess I really started to notice that back in 2000 when I was maybe like in my late 20s. I was like 26, 27. Around then, I think is when 2000, maybe 1 or 2, so I first started noticing that particular problem. And since I've used the table, have not had that crop up. And what else? I don't know. It seems to have tangible health benefits. I've not used music specifically geared towards that on purpose. I mean, except for the fact that I've been trying things out and seeing what feels best. Like I said before, Enya's first album works really good. Some of her other albums were pretty good. I think the later ones, there's some in the middle, like Watermark, I think, doesn't have that much bass or something, but most of them do. And the unique thing about that is she has a lot of bass with not that many drums on most tracks, so, or no drums on a lot of tracks. And that seems to help. But also I set up my compressor. I've got a lot of effects processing the live signal. And I started using my computer for that just because I required a lot more than my guitar head could handle back here. But I use a lot of compression, and if you have the compression set up right, you don't feel the drum hits in the bed. And you'll have like a bass note playing, a drum hit will occur, and a bass note will pick up right after the drum hit's gone, you know, because it's going on in the background. And you'll never, if you set the compression right, you don't even hardly feel that hit at all. You just feel the bass note, basically, and the drums almost disappear into your sensation. And that's good from a relaxation standpoint, because I noticed, like, when you have it set up so you can really feel the drums, like without any compression or with different types of compression, it feels like somebody's sitting there punching you in the back. I mean, and that tends, for me anyway, that tends to induce tension. I don't know, maybe it's helping break up some kinds of really bad calcium deposits or something, but it doesn't seem to be as relaxation inducing as something that's got more uniform bass. I've also tried some classical music. Before I was playing some customized slow movements from the Baroque period, Largo movements. I went through Handel's Concerti Grossi, the MIDI files that are free online, slowed them all down to like 60 beats per minute. Whatever the pulse they had going was about 60 beats per minute, because that's what Paul Solomon recommended. And I custom EQ'd them and all this stuff, and I haven't used those custom recordings since then, because I've got to go back and find the recordings without all the bass cut out, because I had them all low pass filtered and everything, because I was doing my processing offline back then and everything. But then I tried those same recordings as an actual CD, and I noticed that on the CD, on all the slow movements, they played it pretty darn fast, and I guess that makes sense. They're probably trying to cram everything they can on the CD, so time is a concern, so they probably they don't want those slow movements to stretch out too long. So if you could find some classical recordings that actually have the Largo movements played halfway slow, that might be really helpful. And what else? Robert Miles, 23 AM. It's kind of an interesting album. It's like I don't know, my dance styles and stuff. It's kind of a cross between acid jazz type stuff and I don't know, maybe some more conventional hip hop or dance type of stuff. But he's got a lot of slow, new agey type of ambient, long drawn out bass lines and atmospheric type of things. And some tracks have quite a few drum beats, but what I really noticed is he's got a lot of bass lines that are really active, and they go in between all kinds of different notes, and they're compressed really well already. You know, that's just because of the style, I presume. So that translates terrifically to the bed. You know, of course, I'm playing it through even more compression and stuff, but I noticed you can feel each bass note. The bed has a different series of modes, you know, or the water and everything. So a different area of your back or of yourself, you'll feel different areas of yourself activated by those vibrations with every different pitch. So when you have a whole bunch of them going by at once, it's like you're getting this very kind of complex type of massage or something going on with the bed. And I found that was really cool. That seems to be really helpful. So yeah, I'll probably post links to all those albums if you're interested in checking those out. I'm sure, you know, just about everything I've tried on the bed, once you have the processing set up right, just about everything I've tried works out really darn well. So, but I'm sure there's just an infinite amount of depth to what types of music would help best for which conditions and stuff. So those are the types of benefits I've felt so far, and I'm confident there's some physical health benefits. It's great for relaxation and meditation type stuff, and I haven't had trouble falling asleep on the bed. You know, I've tried to follow the rules. They say not to sleep on the bed, you know, and I always keep the light on while I'm on it so I don't feel like sleeping and stuff. But it seems like it's interesting that it seems to help you get that physically relaxed state without falling asleep, which is very beneficial for all kinds of meditation, trance, astral projection, channeling, whatever. So yeah, that's how I've used it so far and the benefits I found so far. And sure, I'll try to keep, as I discover new things and new recordings and stuff, I'll try to post that as well. So.